but today is actually the final lesson. I decided to combine some things up. So today we are talking about the concept of an oligopoly. All right, this is where you have a few large producers. You can look at it this way, depending on the market. Like if you really think about like American cars, they're an oligopoly where you have Ford, Chrysler, and GM. Those are the only three car companies. So they are an American oligopoly, but when you bring in all the others, it's more of a monopolistic competition situation. But let's talk about those characteristics. And the first one is few large producers. All right. And with those, we talk about, like I said, the big three. We can also talk about the aluminum industry. There are only 3 or 4 companies that make aluminum as we know it, like foil and cans and stuff. Now, we're not talking about like Reynolds, who produces the aluminum foil, but we're talking about the people who actually make the aluminum so they can transform it into the aluminum foil. All right, they make a homogeneous or differentiated product. Steel, aluminum. Steel is steel, aluminum is aluminum, no matter how you look at it. Differentiated, we can talk about autos, we can talk about cereal, we can talk about sporting goods. I mean, well, each thing might be a little different. Baseball glove is a baseball glove, or a bat is a bat, depending on how you feel about things. All right? They do have control over price, but they are mutually interdependent. And this means they get to set their price, but they must respond to the others. All right. We also have barriers to entry. And finally, one of the other things that we keep an eye on with this are mergers. A lot of oligopolies get formed this way because of companies merging. Probably the biggest thing of merging that you will probably be aware of are cell phone industry. Not the people who make the cell phones, but the provider of the service. I don't know if you guys remember a company called Nextel. Right? They don't exist anymore because Sprint bought them. You know, you have all that stuff that deals with that. Okay. So, if you recall, we talked about the measurements, the way to measure whether or not a company is an oligopoly or whatever. We talked about like the Herfindahl index from the previous lesson. Well, there's a couple problems with the Herfindahl index when it comes to measuring a oligopoly. All right, because the Herfindahl index takes the nation, but it doesn't necessarily focalize on localized markets. Because you got to think about this. Sometimes you can't compare companies across the nation, which is what the Herfindahl index does, because of expense of things. For example, a cement company. All right, if you're going to get a new driveway put in, are you going to call a company from Minnesota or from New York to come put in your cement driveway? No, because of how expensive it would be to transport it. So the Herfindahl index does not include that. And so you might have more of a local oligopoly, but not necessarily a national oligopoly. All right. Another thing, inter-industry competition. Herfindahl index doesn't take that into account. For example, when we talk about 2 different products that can be used for the same things. So let's talk about like the different types of pipes in your house. There's probably copper piping, there's probably some steel piping, there's probably some aluminum piping, and there's also some like CVC or PVC, PVC piping that is plastic. Right? All of those are used to do the exact same thing. Now, some might be for water, some might be for electric, right? But they don't take those into account when it comes to figuring out the Herfindahl index. A third problem is it also does not take account world trade, right? So obviously, when we talk about Herfindahl index, we talk about oligopolies. The car industry is an oligopoly in the United States. But think about all the different foreign cars that are popular here in the United States. So no imports are included in the Herfindahl index. And finally, we talk about the dominant firms. Okay? When it comes to the concentration ratio, the dominant firms skew the numbers. And because of the dominant firm situation where it skews the numbers, all right, you have a Herfindahl index. Because if you're using the concentration ratio, 4 firms that each have 25%, all right, which would equal 100% of the industry, all right, basically says by definition makes it a monopoly if monopoly is 100%. But we know you have 4 firms at 25% each, which makes it a oligopoly. So we always want to use a Herfindahl index. But sometimes we've got to keep in mind that there are problems here. Okay, the next thing that we need to do with an oligopoly is graphing it. Well, here's the thing. We don't graph an oligopoly. We actually are going to do Nobel Prize winning economics. If you have seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, I know Mr. Giese used to show it in some of his classes. It's about an economist by the name of John Nash. And he's really the person that put the concept of game theory out there. All right, so before we go any further, I want you to draw out this payoff matrix. If I can get it into the frame correctly. There we go. All right, so draw that into your notes here really quick. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes here. You write it down, and I'm going to pause the video, and I'll explain everything here after you have it written down. Okay, so hopefully you have it all written down now. And what we're talking about here, this is called a payoff matrix. We need to see what one company would do in response to what another company does. This is called the mutual interdependence part of the characteristics of it. So right now we have 2 companies, Rare Air and Uptown. All right, we'll call Rare Air Company A, let's call this Company B. So this slot is for Rare Air, this slot is for Uptown. Now, they have to make a choice. Do they want to go with a high price or do they want to go with a low price? And that goes for both sides. And when deciding if they want to go with a high price or a low price, they have to figure out what kind of profit they would make. So we'll start here with Rare Air. If Rare Air chooses to go high, all right, would Uptown want to go high priced or low priced? So in this case, if Rare Air goes high, they would make $12 million. But would Uptown want to make $12 million or they want to make $15 million? Well, it's kind of obvious here. If I was Uptown, I'd want to make $15 million. So I would go with the low price. If Rare Air goes with the low price, would Uptown want to go high priced or low price? Do they want to make $6 million or do they want to make $8 million? They would obviously go low price in that situation too. Okay? In this case, all right, Uptown has something that is called a dominant strategy. Meaning, no matter what Rare Air does, Uptown should go low. All right, so we go back to this, all right, meaning that no matter what they do, is they go 15, they go 8, all right, because 15 is more than 12, 8 is more than 6. It's just the way this one works. There's not always a dominant strategy. But let's look at rare air situation. If Uptown chooses to go high, would rare air want to go low, or hot want to go low, or would they want to go high? So in this case, if they go, if Uptown goes high, if Uptown goes high, would rare air want to go high or low? They want to go low. If Uptown goes low, do they want to go high or low? They would want to go low. So in this case, not only Uptown has the dominant strategy of low, rare air would also go low. All right, that is the dominant strategy for rare air. Now this brings us to a very unique situation. All right, this is something called a Nash equilibrium. And what that means, it's an outcome that neither side would want to deviate from. Okay. But when we look at these numbers again of high or low, if they both go low, that's the dominant strategy. They would only make 8 million. But wouldn't it make more sense for them both to go high, where they would make 12 million each? Well, that's where something slippery gets in. And that slippery thing is called collusion. All right? What collusion is you cooperate with rivals to set a strategy to avoid low profits. Right? I'm sure you guys have all plotted against somebody with a couple of your friends, like, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to sneak up on them, or we're going to freak them out, or whatever it is you're going to do. You colluded. All right. One of the biggest cases of collusion being accused right now, or tried right now, is the NFL. All right, with good old Colin Kaepernick. All right, Colin Kaepernick is accusing the NFL owners of colluding against him, where they're all saying, hey, none of us are going to sign him, all right, regardless of if he'd benefit you guys or not. Well, they could collude together and do this. But if I know I have a chance of making 12 million or 15 million, I get together and say, hey, you should go high. Oh, I'll go high too. But then what could I do? I could cheat. And if I'm rare air and I convinced Uptown to go high with colluding, but I decide to go low, I then make 15 million and they only make 6. So we cheated the system. We lied. All right? We don't want to deviate from it, but that is the idea of game theory. We need to figure out a way to work together, but we eliminate the ability to cheat. All right. I do have another graph here, or another payoff matrix. I will set it here for you. This time we're just talking about company A and company B, whether or not they should trade internationally or nationally. All right. So I'll go over it here with you. All right. If company A decides to go international, would company B want to go international or national? They would want to go international. If company A goes national, would company B want to go international or national? And they would also go international here. All right. If company B would go international, does company A want to go national or would they go, I'm sorry, would company B go international? Would company A want to go international or national? They would want to go international. If company B went national, would company A want to go international or national, they would want to go international. So once again, this is a situation in which both companies would have a dominant strategy. But I guarantee you, all examples do not have a dominant strategy. Just these do. All right. Well, folks, you have a homework assignment here. You have page 301, number 8, and that's what you will do. And that's your last homework assignment out of the book for this unit. And you will have some homework sheets that the Miss Miller will give you. And you're actually going to have a reading from the sequel to Freakonomics called Super Freakonomics. And it's just a reading that she'll give you tomorrow. And it's about the lead singer of Van Halen, David Lee Roth, and King Solomon, and how they actually do have some stuff in common. It's crazy to think that. And it all involves game theory. And you're going to be asked to create your own payoff matrices using this information in the reading that will be given to you. Well, folks, thank you so much for working with me while I'm out here having a baby, or my wife, I should say my wife's having a baby. Everything's good around here. Actually, you might see me this week. I'm going to be popping in real quick to pick up some stuff so I can grade it, so I can have it for your end of the quarter grade. But I can't sign off without doing our last thing. I hope you guys have enjoyed these. I hope you guys are actually looking them up and listening to them. But we have our final cover song of the day, and it's by one of my current favorite bands, a band called Weezer. Back in the 90s, Toni Braxton did this cheesy, sappy breakup song trying to win her ex back, but Weezer did a little bit of a rockin' version of it. It's called Unbreak My Heart. Listen to it, enjoy it, and I will see you guys after spring break. Good luck, everybody.